What's up, Brownies? Welcome into the Browns Report by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and on today's episode, Bleacher Report kind of dropped a bomb on us, naming the Browns as a potential trade candidate for Kyle Pitts. A lot to unpack here, but before we get into the actual video, the Steelers channel, believe it or not, challenged us to a race to 50 subs just this morning. Jack Sperry was out there talking shit. And he was like, I bet you we get to 50 subs before you guys do. And I said, I have faith in the Browns loyal. So do me a favor, if you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button. Lock us in for free Browns content all season long. And for no other reason, let's just beat the Steelers. Come on. All right, so Bleacher Report, back into the actual content of today's video, named 6 teams that were kind of on the trade market for Kyle Pitts. And those teams are as follows. The Patriots, the Commanders, the Rams, the Titans, the Brownies, and, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we just previously mentioned. Now, there's only a handful of teams I actually believe that a trade for Kyle Pitts makes sense. And spoiler alert, the Browns are not one of them. I don't want to see a Pitts trade to this team. I don't think it makes any sense, and we'll dive into why I believe that to be the case. But you should know straight out of the gate that I am not on board with what Bleacher Report is out there spewing. But, again, it is fun to kind of go through the hypotheticals and the pros and cons of why a trade would work. So let's start with the pros. Kyle Pitts is a productive tight end to a certain degree. The stats prove that. Somebody that isn't going to jump off the page at you, but again, somebody that is a reliable tight end one. Not someone that I believe has lived up to the hype of where he was drafted. I believe it was number 4 overall. And the hype surrounding him when he came out was all-timer, Hall of Fame level talent. He just really hasn't lived up to it. Now, he is on the field quite a bit. So one of the things that you are going to get from him is a consistent on-the-field player. He can provide a multitude of different packages and looks and styles of play. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up as a traditional tight end. He's on the field more often than not, and he's actually considered to be a quote-unquote focal point of the Falcons' offense. I do think they're using him the right way. He's got a multitude of purpose. He's a multi-purpose tight end, albeit you haven't really seen that translate into the explosion of production in the Pro Bowl style play that you want to see out of him. It's just not something that, has happened at least yet. Now, I do believe that there is one disadvantage in Atlanta right now, and that is his head coach. It's not an offensive mind, right? Raheem Morris is a defensive-minded head coach, and Kevin Stefanski is an offensive-minded head coach. Now, we saw last year under Ken Dorsey, the Browns went away from their identity. Kevin Stefanski is a wide zone style runner who likes to run multiple dual tight end sets. So you got to get back to that style of play. And with Tommy Rees, I can tell you one thing. As a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, watching him call plays at ND, he loves to run the football, which is why I think going out and drafting Quinshad Judkins and Dylan Sampson was a foreshadowing as to how this Browns offense is going to transform itself back to its roots in 2025. So that's the good news, is that if you were to pair Pitts with an offensive mind like Kevin Stefanski, he would fit the mold for what Kevin Stefanski would actually like to run, which is wide zone running, multiple tight end sets. Now, before we get into my actual thoughts and opinions on why I think this wouldn't work, should the Browns trade for Kyle Pitts? This should be an easy yes or no, point blank. Put it down in the comment section down below. I'm typing no, and I'll explain why coming up here in just a second. First of all, the first reason I say no is this is the most insane dog shit trade idea I think I've ever heard. Pitts for Newsome straight up. First of all, how often do you see straight up player for player trades now? It's not that often. Usually there's some form of draft capital that's, included in a trade package. But Kristopher Knox was talking about this actually being an idea here, and he said this about a Pitts trade. While most of the teams on this list are in a good spot financially, the Cleveland Browns are not. Cleveland ranks near the bottom of the league with just $12.4 million in available cap space. However, the Browns could save $13.4 million by trading quarterback Greg Newsome, who, like Pitts, is set to play on a fifth-year option. Newsome could appeal to the Falcons, who need additional depth on the back end. Now, he does make some good points there, being the Browns are at the bottom in cap space, and moving on from a player like Greg Newsome could be an opportunity to save money. However, this doesn't make sense considering what the Browns just did in the draft. They've got David Njoku, and they just drafted Harold Fannin. So with those two tight ends, and me previously mentioning that Kevin Stefanski wants to run a multiple tight end set, where does Pitts fit in? I mean, if we're talking about upside, right? Because you could make the argument, oh, Pitts' upside is insane. Well, Fannin's upside is insane. How often do you see these kinds of numbers from a tight end in college? Very rarely. And albeit the 2024 season was kind of like a lone, was it a one-hit wonder year? Tough to say. He also played at Bowling Green. But if we're talking about pure upside, Fannin has the edge over Pitts. And Njoku is going to be entering the final year of his contract. He's a free agent next season. So this is a prove-it year for Njoku. If he wants to stick around with Cleveland, this is the year to show everybody, hey, I'm worthy of that next contract. So again, trading for Pitts just seems kind of like an afterthought at this point. And again, the trade straight up is awful. I wouldn't give up more than a fourth for Kyle Pitts. Excuse me, I'm kind of choking on my own spit here. But I look at this trade and I say, this is what you're getting and this is what you're giving up. There's no way the Falcons, first of all, take this deal. And I don't think the Browns should take this deal either. But let me know if you would accept this trade. Yes or no? Just throw it out there. I'm saying hell no. I think that's stupid. If I were to give my own trade, if it were to go down, I would say the Browns get Kyle Pitts, the Falcons receive next year's 2026 fourth round pick. Maybe. That's just spitballing here. Now, before I get into any more about a Kyle Pitts trade, if you want to start shopping about players that are actually on the team, use this link right here that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. Chatsports.com/Cleveland Rookies. You got Mason Graham, Shedeur Sanders, Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson. You can get all different kinds of Browns gear with this link. Like I said, made it super easy for you in the comments and description of today's video. Thank you, Fanatics. Okay, I don't think Cleveland trades for him. I'm just going to say bluntly, I don't think this happens. I don't think there's a need for him. In fact, I don't think this should even be on Cleveland's radar. Tight end is not the issue here. Going out and reassigning another wide receiver, that could be something that we talk about. Trading for a wide receiver, that could be something that we talk about. Not getting a third tight end who has marginal success in the NFL and adding him to a quarterback situation that is completely up in the air, because that's exactly what Pitts has had in Atlanta. So no, a trade will not happen. It's not going to happen here. Like, I don't even know why Bleacher Report put this out there. It's kind of stupid, in my opinion. Sorry, Bleacher Report. I like a lot of your stuff. I didn't like this. It makes more sense for Atlanta to keep Pitts to use as a weapon for Michael Penix. I mean, just take a look real quick at the Falcons tight end depth chart. It's about as thin as it can possibly get. You've got Kyle Pitts and then Charlie Warner. Notice something here? This is probably one of the worst tight end rooms in the NFL. If Pitts is your one, that's just the truth. And now let's look at the Browns. This seems pretty okay to me. I wouldn't say that this is, the best in the league, but it certainly has a ton more upside than the Falcons do. So, again, this group heading into 2025, I'm set with it. We don't need to be adding in any, outside sources, and especially with a guy who's trying to also gain a contract. Pitts is looking for a new contract, and Njoku's looking for a new contract. It's a conflict of interest. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm rolling with Njoku. I'm rolling with Fannin. And if you are with me, predict David Njoku's 2025 stat line. Put it down in the comments below. I'm going to spitball one real quick here for you. 70 receptions, 850 yards, 6 touchdowns. Does that feel right? I feel like that could be a pretty solid year for David Njoku. In fact, for a tight end, those are pretty good numbers. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. Remember to like the video, subscribe, help us beat the schmucks over there at Pittsburgh Steelers Talk, and share this with a Browns fan in your life. My name is Moose. Until next time, be cool.